time to take a look now at what's grabbing headlines around the world with Florence Villemot, our press reviewer. Good morning, Flo. So you're starting off our international review this morning with the ongoing crisis in Catalonia, that question of whether or not Spain's going to impose Article 155. Tell us more.
It's a very sensitive subject in Catalonia, so why don't we start by looking at the press there. Let's start with Ara, which has an interesting take on things. It accuses the Spanish leader Mariano Rajoy of ignoring the Catalan leader, so Carles Puigdemont, you can see a photo of him there, ignoring essentially his last call for dialogue, an appeal that he made to a letter. Now, if we look at another Catalan paper, La Vanguardia, it's interesting, it's a little bit more critical of the Catalan leader, in fact. It says, this letter that he sent to Rajoy, it seems like it's causing more problems than solutions. We're closer than ever to the application of this Article 155 that would impose rule on Catalonia. This would make it really difficult, according to La Vanguardia, to find an exit to what it calls a labyrinth. The paper says, essentially, they've found themselves in a labyrinth. It also says that, look, it's become very clear that EU leaders are backing Madrid on this one. So you can see the title there. The time has come for some concessions.
OK. Well, let's move on now to another story, Flo. After a closely fought election in New Zealand, the country has a new Prime Minister.
That's right. After 26 days of waiting, they had to wait quite a while before they could find a ruling coalition, in fact. You can read about this in the New Zealand Herald. Who is this new Prime Minister? Well, her name is Jacinda Ardern. She's 37 years old. You can see a photo of her here. She is the leader of the Labour Party and the country's youngest leader and the third female prime minister. You can see this piece here in the New Zealand Herald. This is by the former National Government Minister of Defence, Wayne Mapp. You can see he says, today, whatever your politics, there's good reason to be excited about our new prime minister. Why is that? Well, New Zealand has a chance to rebrand itself as a dynamic country where interesting things happen. It certainly was an interesting election. And
herself, she was also virtually unknown until a few months ago. So what more do we know about her as a politician?
Spectacular rise in politics. You can read more about that in Courrier International. It must be said, lots of papers around the world are finding interest in New Zealand. We don't really talk about New Zealand that much in the international press review, so it's refreshing. You can see here Courrier International taking a look at what's been dubbed Jacinda-mania. I'm not quite sure how to say that. Jacinda-mania, maybe. And the reasons behind this lightning bolt success. Now, what's interesting, it seems like she herself didn't really want to be in this position. She apparently turned down the party leadership 7 times. Now, why is she so popular in New Zealand? Well, lots of papers say it has to do with her charm, her humor, her youth, her energy as well. She communicated a lot of energy to voters and essentially told them that a different future is possible for New Zealand.
OK, Flo, now let's move on to another story now. This is from the British medical review, The Lancet, sounding some alarms on health effects of pollution. Tell me more.
It's pretty incredible, this story. You were mentioning it in our headlines here. You can read about it in The Guardian. Lots of papers are focusing on what's been called a landmark study, the most comprehensive global analysis to date, in fact, on pollution. The Guardian here reports about the findings of this study. Essentially, it finds that toxic air, water, soils, and workplaces kill at least 9 million people and this is a year, and costs trillions of dollars. Now, these deaths due to pollution are actually triple those due to AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. Now, the vast majority of these pollution deaths occur in poorer nations. You can see a photo here. This was taken in Dhaka in Bangladesh. You can see in the headline here, it says that this crisis threatens the continuing survival of human societies. So it's a very important study here, pretty depressing study as well. If you're tempted to skip town, to leave Earth altogether, you can also stay in The Guardian. There's another article about an interesting finding by Japanese explorers. Apparently, a cave has been found on the moon's surface, a massive cave. They say it could be the perfect site for a future colony. I say sign me up.
OK, and let's end one light story there. Let's end on something else, also light and fun for a Friday morning. A dog has become an internet sensation after training with the CIA. What's going on, Flo?
Very unusual story coming out of the CIA. This little dog's name is Lulu. She is a labrador. You can see a photo of her here. She joined the CIA as one of their newest recruits in their K-9 corps. This is their dogs, their explosive sniffing dog corps. It's an intensive 10-week training program with 10 tests at the end. She's a very good dog, but very bad at sniffing out bombs, and she bombed out of the puppy class of 2017. And the CIA gave updates, or pup dates, as they called it, on Twitter. And I'll show you one of their most popular tweets here, where they announced, "We're sad to announce that a few weeks into training, Lulu began to show signs that she wasn't interested in detecting explosive odors." There is, however, a happy ending to this. She was adopted by her handler, an unlikely feel-good story coming out of the CIA.
Unlikely indeed, but very heartwarming for Friday morning. Thank you very much, Flo. That was Flo Vilmio there with the International Press Review. We're going to take a